Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel, and we are here today to do something a little bit different. This intro has been recorded after the discussion itself because the two of us just finished watching Xbox's and Bethesda's joint E3 press conference. We had a pretty interesting discussion immediately after the showcase ended, and we want to share that with you. So now we're going to go back in time and play that, but before we do, if you want to participate in time travel with us, you got to do a couple things for us first. Join the Discord, like the video, subscribe. You know where to find that stuff. I'm not going to hold your hand anymore. You're a big boy now. But Tucker, let's kick it back to 25 minutes ago.
That was okay. I mean, it was good.
I mean, I think that was a pretty. I think that's a. I mean, that's a pretty big. That's a powerful showcase. If you're Microsoft, because sure, console launch exclusives, whatever. They just showed 30 games.
Here's the thing. That happens to Microsoft every year, and then half of them become forgettable, and the industry fucking forgets about them.
Yeah, but if you're inside the ecosystem like I am, and hopefully you will be, you just got all these games. They're just gonna show up on Game Pass, and you're gonna play them.
I understand that.
But I think that the difference is that they have all these games at a time, and they were also finally rolling out the services and everything that they've been talking about for so long. If this presentation happened a couple of years ago, I don't think it would have been nearly as exciting. But
because they have Game Pass now, you mean?
Well, they have Game Pass, and then cloud gaming is about to come out, and they're rolling out the new machines, and there's so many different entry points. I think this was a very impressive showcase, but I don't think it wasn't hype building, I suppose.
Yeah, I just think it just continues the trend of their E3s of past. Like nothing, like there was stuff there. I'm not saying it's not existent, but like,
yeah,
no surprise. Like it was predictable, and I think that's my main takeaway. Like having one or two surprises doesn't mean that the majority of it wasn't like, yeah, I saw they come in.
Yeah,
it
but
feels exactly like the last ones.
But how often do you get a showcase where everything surprises you? I mean, look at the PlayStation 5 reveal was so great, but those are all sequels.
I know, but a lot of them were sequels that we didn't necessarily think were like coming at that moment. Like it was a lot of.
But Miles, Ratchet, I mean, those are pretty. I feel like it's colored by the fact that we're outside of this ecosystem. Like a sequel.
I would be interested to see. I mean, I obviously again I am mostly outside of the ecosystem, but from what I've rewatching old Xbox showcases, which I have rewatched most of the recent E3 ones recently, they have the same tone. They show off a lot of games. Like we have a lot of games. Most of them end up coming out being B tier, not very exciting, blending into the mesh of what they have. And especially now that they're all coming out on Game Pass, like over half of those are going to be swept under the fucking rug by the bigger stuff.
Yeah, but so I mean, think about what Netflix is doing. They've got a movie every week. It doesn't matter if everyone hits or not. The fact is, if you're a Netflix subscriber, you get a new movie every week. The point of Xbox.
I don't think overflow. I don't think that consistency of content excuses the fact that most of it becomes uninteresting at some point.
But is it comparatively uninteresting, or is it completely boring? I don't think any of the games we saw today looked like boring. If anything, it was either not our taste or whatever. But the fact that you get all of these very clearly high fidelity, high quality games in that subscription price justifies it. Because I wasn't looking at any of those games thinking, man, Stalker 2 looks interesting, but I'm not going to pay $70 for it. I'm thinking, now I get Stalker 2, and then 3 weeks later, I get X, and then I get Y, and I get Z. I mean, when Phil Spencer lays out all those games at the end, that's incredibly impressive. And Microsoft is playing a game where you want to lower the walls, and you want to get people in, you want to flood the zone with content, you want to be Amazon Prime Video, you want to be Netflix. I think that they just showed that they have the power to do that.
I do think that the twist is that they're all available on Game Pass.
Yeah.
It feels the same as the other ones, except for the little sentence at the end of every trailer. This is now available.
Yeah, but that's a huge sentence.
I would say that it is, but I don't think that. Honestly, it's hard to tell as someone who doesn't use Game Pass consistently. But you say, okay, I'll try that. But I would future project into the fact that you haven't been consistently trying all of the things that they announced last year. I don't think you're going to be trying most of these because they're going to be swept under the rug. The industry is going to forget about the vast majority of them.
But I don't think that matters.
You don't think it matters that over half the content is not going to be talked about?
No, because it's about building a subscription. What did Netflix release last week? It doesn't matter because Netflix is an apparatus. What Microsoft is building is a library of content that is going to appeal to different niches, but the sum of the whole is something that has a narrative and a place in the industry.
Would say the fact that they're creating that is factual, but it devalues a lot of that content. It's like, okay, it's not very special. You're only going to get it for the big stuff, and it's there, but you're playing the big stuff. Why does it matter? It's just going to it devalues so much of it.
I'm not sure it devalues it because the people who want to play Stalker now have Stalker. The people who want to play these games have these games.
But that's one of the big ones. I would say that like so many of those are like, that's a first person shooter that is not Stalker, is not Far Cry, is not bam, 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 bam. All of these similar games that are available in the same thing in a short amount of time. Like,
but then Game Pass is only a benefit to them, I think, because otherwise, where is that audience going to come from? Xbox is building an ecosystem in which they're going to pay developers what it takes for the developers to be happy financially, and then to have a built-in audience of players who could possibly or not possibly play your game. You're totally right about the fact that some of these games will fly under the radar, but it doesn't matter if Microsoft can incur the cost of Game Pass and developers get what they want out of the arrangement.
I agree with you on all of that. I think my problem was with this an hour and a half long showcase. A lot of it, as of course, I'm future projecting. I have no idea how a lot of these are going to work. Like if I watched the showcase and it felt like 30 minutes of it was stuff that will be forgotten, that did feel generic, will be swept under the rug. Remove that from your conference, make it shorter. Like, I don't necessarily think it felt like padding. Like, yeah, we have all this stuff, but a big number does not necessarily mean exciting. Like I know it's not the same for Game Pass, but I'm more certainly quality over quantity. Like the focus on quantity, I find just,
but
it doesn't seem like a huge sell. Like quantity of games.
Yeah, but I think
especially with games being so long. Like,
are they necessarily though? I mean, we saw a lot of smaller tier titles that we wouldn't have. I mean, yeah, think about the number of indie games we saw that would have completely gotten caught in the undertow anyway. The fact that they're on Game Pass, the reason I subscribe to Game Pass right now is so I can get continuous access to Halo and to get continuous access to a couple other key games, right? But now on top of it, all of a sudden, they just filled out a calendar in which there's a game for me to play continually. And they released a little bit earlier this week all of these stats about people with Game Pass try more genres, they play more games, they inject more money into the ecosystem, spending money on expansions, season passes, spending on microtransactions, buying other stuff in the Xbox ecosystem because they're integrated. What Microsoft just did in 90 minutes is set up a dragnet of content that's going to keep you in the Xbox ecosystem.
Sure.
Look at Nintendo. Nintendo is probably going to have more announcements that pop. But I'm going to play Metroid, and then I'm going to put my Switch down, and then I'm going to return to a more vibrant ecosystem. What Xbox just showed us in 90 minutes is that this ecosystem is going to be continually vibrant for a long time. You're going to always want to have your Xbox on. I mean, again, it goes back to those other services we're comparing it to in terms of Spotify, in terms of Netflix. Microsoft has the capital and the market position to make gaming fit into that analogous place.
Yeah.
And then you look at something like Amazon Prime slate. Let's say that there's 3 or 4 or 5 movies you want to watch, but then here's 15 or 20 other movies that maybe you're going to watch now that you have access to the service because you want those big 4 or 5. The fact that Xbox came and put 4 or 5 major tentpole titles down and then showed us these smaller titles, these interesting games, some derivative stuff, some sequels, some kind of samey things, but such a scattershot that people are going to find what they're looking for. People are going to want to turn their Xboxes on. I'm going to want to be engaged in Game Pass. You talk about wanting to be part of the conversation, part of the hype. Microsoft is building a community completely around a steady release of new content. That's not really happening elsewhere. If Sony is going to take years and years and years to make a Ragnarok, make a Next Horizon, we're already seeing humongous vacuous gaps. Right now, we're waiting for Halo Infinite pretty definitively. But while we're waiting for Halo Infinite, by merit of being in this ecosystem, I could play this Pirates of the Caribbean content. I could play The Ascent. I could play Psychonauts. I could play Forza Horizon. You can
Wait, when did they say that was coming out? Oh, like
November.
October, November. Yeah. Okay.
October, November, something like that. I just think that Xbox did exactly what they needed to, which was prove that yeah, we can put our ducks in a row. We can say that we're going to have all these games coming out in order. We're going to take Bethesda. We're going to show you reveals of new Bethesda IP. We're going to bring more games to Game Pass. We're going to integrate all this stuff. We're going to bring cloud gaming into the mix. I think that this was them saying exactly what the narrative about them has been for so long. That is, they don't bring the hype. What they're doing is that they're looking forward. They're offering you the best ecosystem. They're giving you the best value. They're giving you the most games because they have the advantages that other companies don't have because they're attached to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Cloud gaming, Game Pass, exclusive deals, all of this stuff happens because they're part of Microsoft. And I don't think that can be overstated. And I don't think that you can measure what they're doing in the same way. Now,
100%, yeah.
If Nintendo came out and said, here's a big conference, but we're going to spend all this time on this random shit, right? That the goalposts are different. They're playing a different game. So I just think that there was a really impressive conference for the context for what Microsoft is becoming.
Sure. Yeah.